You know the verses too? That's it. Very good. Jnananjana Jananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupagadamayam Dadati Swabhadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yutapadakamalam Sri Guru Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raganatham Vidhantam Sajivam Bhagavatam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahaganath Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitangscha He Krishna Purana Sindho Dinabando Jagatpate Upesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hori Priye Vanchakalpachuvascha Kripa Sindhu Bhivacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Narayanam Namaskritya
Narayanam Namaskritya
Naramachaiva Narottamam
Naramchayam Narottamam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Devim Saraswati Vyasam
Tato Jayamudidayet
Jayamudidayet
Nasta Presho Badreshu
Nastapradeshu Bhadreshu
Nityam Bhagavad Shevaya
Nityam Bhagavati Sevaya
Bhagavad Utama Shloke
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke
Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki.
Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki.
So today is Thursday, January 22nd, 2026. We're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, The Creative Impetus, Chapter 1, The Activities of Maharaj Priyabrata. Text number 11. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha
Nibodatate Damritam Bravimi
Dhirodatta Amritam Pravini
Masu Yitum Devam Arhas Aprameyam
Masuritam Devam Arhasaprameyam
Vayam Bhavaste Tata Esha Maharshir
Vayam Bhavaste Tata Esha Maharshi
Mahama Sarve Vivashaya Sadishtam
Mahan Sarve Vashadasya Dishtam
Sri Bhagavan Uvacha
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha
Nibodatate Damritam Bravimi
Dhirodatta Amritam Pravini
Masu Yitum Devam Aharsya Prameyam
Masuritam Devam Arhasaprameyam
Vayam Bhavaste Tata Isha Maharshir
Vayam Bhavaste Tata Esha Maharshi
Vahama Sarve Vivashaya Sadishtam
Mahan Sarve Vashayasya Dishtam
Sri Bhagavan Uvacha
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha
Nibodatate Damritam Bravimi
Dhirodatta
Masu yitam devam arhasya prameyam. Vayam bhavaste tata esha maharshir. Bahama sarve vivashayasya dishtam. Bolo.
Sri Bhagavanu Vacha.
Sri Bhagavanu Vacha.
Nibodatate damritam bhavimi.
Nibodatate damritam bravimi.
Masu yatum devam aharsya prameyam.
Masu yitum devam arhasya prameyam.
Ayam bhavaste tata esha maharshir.
Bhavam bhavaste tata esha maharshir.
Mahama sarve vivashayasya dishtam.
Mahama sarve vishvashayasya dishtam.
Sri Bhagavanu Vacha.
Sri Bhagavanu Vacha. Nibodatate damritam bravimi. Masu yitum devam arhasya prameyam. Vayam bhavaste tada esha maharshir. Bahama sarve vishvashayasya dishtam. Any other customers?
Sri Bhagavanu Vacha.
Sri Bhagavanu Vacha.
Nibodatate damritam bhavimi.
Nibodatate damritam bravimi.
Masu yitum devam arhasya prameyam.
Masu yitum devam arhasya prameyam.
Vayam bhavaste tata esha maharshir.
Vayam bhavaste tata esha maharshir.
Bahama sarve vivashayasya dishtam.
Bahama sarve vishvashayasya dishtam. These synonyms, please repeat. Sri Bhagavanu Vacha.
Sri Bhagavanu Vacha.
The Supreme Person, Lord Brahma, said.
The Supreme Person, Lord Brahma said.
Sometimes Bhagavan is used for other great personalities besides the Lord. Nibodha.
Dhirodatta.
Kindly hear with attention.
Kindly hear with attention.
Tata.
Tata.
My dear son.
My dear son.
Idam.
Idam.
This.
This.
Vritam.
Vidam.
True.
True.
Bravimi.
Bhavimi.
I am speaking.
I am speaking.
Ma.
Ma.
Not.
Not.
Asuyatam.
Asuyitam.
To be jealous of.
To be jealous of.
Devam.
Devam.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Arhasi.
Arhasi.
You ought.
You ought.
Aprameyam.
Aprameyam.
Who is beyond our experimental knowledge.
Who is beyond our experimental knowledge.
Vayam.
Vayam.
We.
We.
Bhavaha.
Bhava.
Lord Shiva.
Lord Shiva.
Te.
Te.
Your.
Your.
Tataha.
Tataha.
Father.
Father.
Eshaha.
Esha.
This.
This.
Maharishihi.
Maharishi.
Narada.
Narada.
Mahamaha.
Mahamaham.
Carry out.
Carry out.
Sarve.
Sarve.
All.
All.
Vivishaha.
Vivashaha.
Unable to deviate.
Unable to deviate.
Yasya.
Yasya.
Of whom?
Of whom?
Drishtam.
Dishtam.
The order.
The order.
Translation by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Lord Brahma, the Supreme Person within this universe, said, My dear Priyavrata, kindly hear attentively what I shall say to you. Do not be jealous of the Supreme Lord, who is beyond our experimental measurements. All of us, including Lord Shiva, your father, and the great Maharishi Narada, must carry out the order of the Supreme. We cannot deviate from his order. Please repeat. Lord Brahma, the Supreme Person within this universe, said.
Lord Brahma, the Supreme Person within this universe, said.
My dear Priyavrata,
My dear Dhirodatta,
kindly hear attentively what I shall say to you.
kindly hear attentively what I shall say to you.
Do not be jealous of the Supreme Lord.
Do Do not be jealous of the Supreme Lord,
who is beyond our experimental measurements.
who is beyond our experimental measurements.
All of us, including Lord Shiva,
All of us, including Lord Shiva,
your father and the great sage Maharishi Narada,
your father and great sage Maharishi Narada,
must carry out the order of the Supreme.
must carry out the order of the Supreme.
We cannot deviate from his order.
We cannot deviate from his order.
Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Of the 12 great authorities in devotional service, 4, Lord Brahma himself, his son Narada, Swayambhuva Manu, and Lord Shiva were present before Priyabrata. They were accompanied by many other authoritative sages. Brahma first wanted to impress upon Priyabrata that although these great personalities are all authorities, they cannot possibly disobey the orders of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is described in this verse as Deva, which means, quote, always glorious. The power, glory, and potencies of the Supreme Personality of Godhead can never be diminished. In the Ishopanishad, the Lord is described as Apapavita, which indicates that he is never affected by anything materially considered sinful. Similarly, Srimad Bhagavatam describes the Supreme Personality of Godhead as being so powerful that nothing we might consider abominable can affect him. An example sometimes given to explain the position of the Supreme Lord is that of the sun, which evaporates urine from the earth, but is never affected by contamination. The Supreme Lord can never be accused of doing anything wrong. When Lord Brahma went to induce Priyabrata to accept the responsibility of ruling the universe, he did not go whimsically. He was following the dictations of the Supreme Lord. Indeed, Brahma and other genuine authorities never do anything without his permission. The Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart. In the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said, Tene Brahma Hrida Yat Adi Kavaye. The Lord dictated Vedic knowledge to Brahma through his heart. The more a living entity is purified by devotional service, the more he comes in direct contact with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as confirmed in Srimad Bhagavad Gita 10:10. Esham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi jogam tam jenamam upayanti te. To those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. Gita 10:10. Lord Brahma, therefore, had not come to Priyabrata by his own whims. Rather, it is understood that he had been ordered to persuade Priyabrata by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose activities cannot be understood by material senses, and who is therefore described herein as a prameya. Thus, Lord Brahma first advised Priyabrata to hear his words with attention and without envy. Why one is induced to perform certain acts despite his desire to do something else is indicated herein. One cannot disobey the orders of the Supreme Lord, even if one is as powerful as Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, Manu, or the great sage Narada. All these authorities are certainly very powerful, but they do not have the power to disobey the orders of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Since Lord Brahma had come to Priyabrata in accordance with the orders of the Supreme Lord, he first wanted to dispel any suspicions that he might be acting as Priyabrata's enemy. Lord Brahma was following the orders of the Supreme Lord, and therefore it would be worthwhile for Priyabrata to accept Lord Brahma's order as the Lord desired. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Nibodhatate Ritam Brahimi Maisuyitam Devamarhasya Prameyam Mayambavaste Tata Esha Maharshir Mahama Sarve Vishvashayasya Dishtam. Lord Brahma, the Supreme Person within this universe, said, My dear Priyabrata, kindly hear attentively what I shall say to you. Do not be jealous of the Supreme Lord, who is beyond our experimental measurements. All of us, including Lord Shiva, your father and the great sage Maharishi Narada, must carry out the order of the Supreme. We cannot deviate from his order. Mukum karoti bachalam bhangam lagayate jatakripa tamaham bandre Srigurum dinatarinam paramananda madhavam. There's some nice statements. Of course, there are unlimited nice statements by Lord Brahma in the 14th chapter of the 10th canto, when he's offering his prayers to Krishna after he stole the cowherd boys and calves, thinking that, who is this playful cowherd boy? He can't be the Supreme. And so I will exhibit my mystic potency and I will take away the boys and calves from him. And we'll see what he does. So then he turned away for a moment, which is actually 1 year in Earth time. And when he turned back, and wait a minute, the cows and the boys are still there. But I just stole them away and hid them in a cave. And Krishna had, of course, expanded himself into all the boys and calves. And this activity of Krishna with his direct expansion boys and calves in Vrindavan went on for 1 whole year. And so the parents, of course, they love their boys, the cowherd boys, but they loved them even more now that they were Krishna. And same with the calves. The cows loved, the mother cows, they loved their calves. But then when those calves became Vishnu calves, well, then they really loved him even more. And there was an incident that took place where the cowherd men were on Govardhan Hill with the cows, and then the cowherd boys were down at the bottom with the calves. And then the cows, they saw the calves. They saw the Krishna calves. And they got really fired up, and they started running down Govardhan Hill. And then the cowherd man was like, you don't let the cows go to the calves because the calves will drink all the milk. They keep them separate so they can milk the cows and take the milk and use it as agricultural produce and make all nice things like, butter, ghee, curd, yogurt, and make so many nice sweets like sandesh and burfi. So, of course, they keep them separate. They don't allow the calves to drink all the milk. Once they're to a certain age, then they're separated. So they were frustrated. Oh, the cows are getting away from us. They're running down to the calves. They're going to drink all the milk. And they got frustrated, mad, and they started running after them. And then all of a sudden, they saw the boys. And then just as those cows were running after those Krishna expansion calves, the cowherd men saw those boys who were their children, but they were Krishna expansion cowherd boys. And then suddenly they became overwhelmed with ecstasy too. And they forgot all about the cows and they ran to the boys and started grabbing them and hugging them and embracing them. So all this was going on while Lord Brahma had turned his head for a moment. And then he turned back and he saw that Krishna was still there by the bank of the river with the cowherd boys and the calves. And he was like, oh, wait a minute. And then he checked his stash where he had kept the cowherd boys and the calves. Nope, they're still there. And then, what are these new calves and cowherd boys? Where did they come from? And he was bewildered. He was actually bewildered. See, he had thought that he was very powerful and he was using his potency, his power to bewilder Krishna. But actually, Krishna used his potency, his power to bewilder Lord Brahma. And then, right in front of Lord Brahma, the cowherd boys started dancing. And as they were dancing, they transformed into these Vishnu forms. And that really knocked Lord Brahma out. It really took him out. Like, I've been defeated. I thought I was exhibiting my potency, and Krishna has completely defeated me with his potency. So that's one pastime with Lord Brahma in the Srimad Bhagavatam. But so after everything, returns to normal, and the boys and the calves come back, like nothing had happened, and it was a year later, then Lord Brahma, he offered his prayers to Krishna, and he said many wonderful things. There are many wonderful verses there. But one thing he says, as far as I'm concerned, anyone can say they know you and your potencies, but I myself, Lord Brahma, who is called here Bhagavan, the supreme person within the universe, I don't know Jack. I don't know anything about you. Your glories, your potencies, your powers are all completely beyond the power of my mind and my senses. What to speak of anyone else within the universe? And everyone else is inferior to Lord Brahma in terms of intellectual power and ability to grasp and understand things and have realization of the truth. Everyone's inferior to Brahma. But he was saying, as far as I'm concerned, I don't know nothing. I don't know what's going on here, that you are so powerful and so far beyond my, material body and my senses. And anyone who's in possession of a material body and being controlled by the material energy and whose senses are engaged in the service of Maya, they cannot understand Krishna. So, as we pointed out here many times, the Jiva Goswami says in the Sandarbhas that the first thing you have to understand, if you want to understand anything about Krishna, is that actually his potencies are inconceivable. So that's the first thing you have to understand, is that you can't understand anything. That's the first thing you have to understand. Once you start from that position, then you can make advancement in understanding something about the Lord. But you cannot truly grasp, no one can, even Lord Brahma, the entirety of the glories of Krishna and his unlimited potencies. Therefore, he's called Aprameya. So it's very interesting here that when it was time to convince Dhirodatta, who was hesitating to take the position of emperor of the universe, although he was requested by his father, Swayambhuva Manu, he was already fixed up in Krishna consciousness. He was taking instruction from Narada Muni. He was detached. He was not in family life. So why do something that would require him to become entangled in the material energy? Thanks, but no thanks. And actually, a devotee is like that. Having understood the instructions of Krishna in Bhagavad Gita and the glories of Krishna from Srimad Bhagavatam, a devotee, you offer him, oh, please come engage in sense gratification. Enjoy your senses. Come with me, some non-devotee may say. And the devotee is, thanks, I appreciate that, but no thanks. I am not interested. One devotee, a Prabhupada disciple who's now a sannyas disciple of Narayan Maharaj. I don't know what his sannyas name is. British devotee, Dhirodatta. Did you ever know Dhirodatta when you were in England? He was a very learned person. When the Christians would come and say this and say that, he would say, yes, I am a Christian. Because he was a Christian before he became devotee. He says, I'm a Christian also. And they're like, huh? He would completely bewilder them by explaining that he was also a Christian and that he was understanding Christianity. But what were they talking about? What is this nonsense you're talking? That has nothing to do with anything. So let's see, what was my point about Dhirodatta? What did he used to say? Oh yeah, he gave the example that, so many non-devotees, they're spending millions of dollars on cigarettes, buying them from the machine or from the corner store or by the carton and ordering them, I suppose, online these days. He said, but a devotee has given up such things So if you show a devotee a whole room full of cigarettes, he would be, I'm not interested in that. And then he said something very funny. He said, however, don't show the devotee a whole room full of naked women, okay? There's a difference in the potency there. Obviously, that was very funny. He was very funny, devotee, wonderful preacher. He also played the violin. And we used to go out on Harinam every day on the Boston Commons. And he would play his violin along with our kirtan party, which was harmonium, mridanga, violin. It was very, very wonderful. He's a good singer, too. Educated British man. Kanadas. He's my good friend. So, why would Priyavratta be interested in the proprietorship of the universe or the responsibility of managing, which means of necessity living in the palace, having wife, children, all those things? He said, no thanks. But it was imperative that he take that position. And so Swayambhuva Manu tried to convince him, but Priyavratta was not convinced. So then he brought in the big guns, which is Lord Brahma, who's in this verse called Bhagavan. He's the biggest gun of all. And present also were 4 of the 12 Mahajans. So there's not a chance that Priyavratta is going to get out of this. He's outgunned, he's outnumbered. So Brahma, Narada Muni, Swayambhuva Manu, Priyavratta's father, and Lord Shiva. And those 4 persons are 4 of the 12 Mahajans. Swayambhur, Narada, Shambhu, Kumara, Kapilo, Manu, Palado, Janaka, Bhishmo, Balir, Bhaya, Sakir, Vayam. So Swayambhu means self-born. Swayam means a self, and Bhu means the birth. Swayambhu, he's not born. We explained this, I think, last week. Swayambhu, he's not born from like a regular mother and father. You know, go to Lord Brahma and say, who's your mother? The lotus flower. He appears on the lotus flower atop the navel of Lord Vishnu. So therefore he is called, because he doesn't have an ordinary birth like everyone else, like all of us. He's called Swayambhu. So he's the first one listed in the list of the great Mahajans, the 12 Mahajans. And that explanation of who those Mahajans are was given to the servants of Yamaraj by Yamaraj himself in the 6th canto, 3rd chapter, text 20 and 21. Because they were not pleased or completely bewildered as to how these servants of Vishnu could stop them from taking the soul of Ajamil, the sinner Ajamil, from his body. You know, with their ropes, they bound the soul by these ropes and they pull him from the body. Oh my goodness, what a terrible thing. You know, there was one movie, I think it was called Ghost. And in this movie, the guy had some code in his wallet to some safe or something in Wall Street, and then the other guy was trying to get that piece of paper that had that code on it because he wanted to do some nefarious activities and cheat on the numbers. And so he hired a thug to, you know, rob the guy with the wallet. But something went wrong during the holdup, and he shot the guy and killed him. And so he became a ghost. And then during that movie, whenever some bad guys were killed, then these shadowy beings would come up from like the ground, from the sidewalk, and then pull him down. It's just very, almost Vedic. So you could go up or you could go down. So when the sinful guy, the crook who held him up, he was later killed, and he was, you know, pulled down by these shadowy black creature, and pull him down into hell, take the soul from the body. So obviously whoever did that movie had had some contact with Vedic concepts, for sure. But then when the Vishnu Dutas appeared, because Ajamil had chanted the name Narayana, who had named his young son, even though he was an old man, he had a young, very, very young son. I mean, he didn't quit. He kept on going into old age. He had this very young son. And when the Yamadutas came to get him, he called out, Narayana, the name of his son. But because he chanted the holy name in a helpless, offenseless way, then immediately the Vishnu Dutas appeared and told the Yamadutas, no, you cannot take this soul. And they were like, but that's our job. We're the Yamadutas. We take the souls, the sinful souls. We take them to Yamaraj to be judged. And never before has anyone tried to stop us. And who are you guys anyway? Where'd you come from? How come you're so beautiful? Because they had, the same form as the Lord, four-armed forms, bluish, the associates of the Lord from Vaikuntha, the Vishnu Dutas. So they went back to Yamaraj and they said, hey, these very beautiful. I mean, they were nice looking. And the Yamadutas are not so beautiful. They're like earlier, rough, ugly, agents of death. They're not pretty people. You wouldn't invite them to your picnic. So where did they come from? And they had very deep and grave voices, and they were more powerful than we were. And they stopped us, and that never happened before. No one ever stopped us in executing our duty. And so, who is it that's more powerful than you, our master, Yamaraj? You are so powerful. You're the Lord of Death. I mean, there's no one more powerful than you, they thought. So he had to explain to them the hierarchy of potency and powerful personalities, and how the Supreme Lord is the ultimate power and potency, and the supreme chief in charge of everything and everyone. They didn't know. And then he also explained to them who the 12 great authorities in Krishna consciousness were. Swayambhu, Narada, Shambhu, Lord Brahma, Narada Muni, and Lord Shiva, who were all present here. And Manu's name is also mentioned in that list, and he was there too. So there's a difference between Swayambhu and Swayambhuva, Manu. Swayambhu is Brahma, Swayambhuva is Manu. So, just to be clear. And these are the great authorities in Vedic knowledge, in Krishna consciousness. These are the Mahajanas, the great personalities. Mahajano Yena Gatasa Panta, and their footsteps are to be followed in regard to executing duties. Now, it's very interesting that this verse, text number 20 from 6th Canto, chapter 3, where Yamaraj is speaking, there's a second verse that goes with it. And at first I was trying to Google it on the database, just 6.3.20, and nothing came up. It wouldn't come up, because you have to have 20 and 21. And then it comes up, because that's the way it's in the book. So the second part of that verse is Dvada Shaite Vijanimo Dharman Bhagavatam Vataha Guyam Vishudham Durbodham Yam Gatva Mritam Ashnute. So Yamaraj explains who the 12 Mahajans are, including himself, Balaya, Vyasakir, Vyam. Vyam means we, or ourselves. And then the next part of the verse is, my dear servants, this transcendental religious principle, which is known as Bhagavat Dharma, or surrender under the Supreme Lord and love for him, is uncontaminated by the material modes of nature. It is very confidential and difficult for ordinary human beings to understand. But if by chance one fortunately understands it, he's immediately liberated and thus returns home, back to Godhead. So human beings ordinarily, or generally speaking, cannot understand Bhagavat Dharma. But then Prabhupada renders it. But if by chance one fortunately understands it, he is immediately liberated. And thus he returns back home, back to Godhead. So that is the condition that has been created by Srila Prabhupada by creating and expanding the Krishna consciousness movement. Not exactly by chance, but by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, by plan, by design, to create a special situation that goes against the current of the Kali Yuga, in which people can understand Bhagavat Dharma, can learn this science, and return back home, back to Godhead. That is the fortunate position of those who take to the Krishna consciousness movement and learn to practice the science of Bhakti Yoga. And the qualification is created by Srila Prabhupada, the good fortune. The devotee said that to Prabhupada. Oh, Prabhupada, we are so fortunate. And Prabhupada said, I have created your good fortune by preaching Krishna consciousness and writing his books. So this is the situation we find ourselves in. Somehow or other, we, foolish mudhas who are stuck in our conditioned life, come in contact with the Krishna consciousness movement and then began to grasp the truth of Bhagavad Dharma and surrender ourselves to Krishna as he says in no uncertain terms in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says, surrender to me in no uncertain terms. And then there's a statement by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the Chaitanya Charitamrita where he says, I order every man in this universe to take to the Krishna consciousness movement. That means the ladies too. Men and ladies. Sometimes the word man is used to, mankind. It means men and women, everybody. Well, I order everyone, every person, every man, woman, and child to take to the Hare Krishna movement. So, what you going to do? You're going to say, forget about it. No way. I'll never surrender. Well, that's what the ordinary conditioned souls do. But it is the order of the personality of Godhead, of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, his causelessly merciful order to take to the Krishna consciousness movement. Apply yourself. Give yourself to it. Prabhupada says, just give this one life. You have so many lifetimes. Hey, buddy, can you spare one life? Just one life? Like, hey, buddy, can you spare a dime? No, can you spare just one life for Krishna? Come on, man, you can do it. Yes. Why not? If you're intelligent, why not? Just give this one life. Of course, you just fully give this one life and you'll never go back to any other normal, regular life. It's not possible. It's like that whole room full of cigarettes. Forget it. Maybe I can package them up and sell them or something and give the money to Krishna. Otherwise, it has no value. So it's very interesting also that this verse about the 12 Mahajans in chapter 3 is preceded, text number 19, by another very famous verse, also spoken by Yamaraj to the Yamadutas. A verse that's the first part of which is often quoted by Prabhupada. Dharmam tu shakshat bhagavat parinitam navai vido rishya napi deva nasidamukya sudha manusha utona vidyadara charananya. That real religious principles are enacted by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, although fully situated in the mode of goodness. Even the great rishis who occupy the topmost planets cannot ascertain the real religious principles, nor can the demigods or the leaders of Siddhaloka, to say nothing of the asuras, ordinary human beings, vidyadharas and chadanas. And I always like this verse because I lived for many, many years, more than 20 years in Alachua, and the temple president there, who's very good friends with our Siddhamani, is named Mukhya Devi Dasi. This is the Mukhya verse. Nasida Mukhya, Asura Manusha. He said, you got your own verse, Mukhya. And Mukhya means mouth. Not to say that has anything with her being, a Jewish girl from New York. But Mukhyas means the leaders. The Siddhas and the Mukhyas are the leaders. The Mukhya means they speak on behalf of Vedic authorities. And also that the Brahmins are Mukhya because they are offered food. The Brahmins are considered the mouth of the Lord, and you offer food to the Brahmanas. So this is a great verse. Dharmam tu shakshat bhagavat pranitam. That real religion and real religious principles are given or enacted by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And also are found hidden within the hearts of great devotees. This we also mentioned recently. And all these things are coming up again and again in this chapter. Tarko pratishto shutayo vibina rasha vashir nasha yajam nabinam dharmasya tattvam nihitam guhayam mahajano yena gatasa panta. This verse from the Mahabharata, one of the few Mahabharata verses that are quoted by Srila Prabhupada, aside from Bhagavad Gita, which is a chapter of Mahabharata. Dharmasya tattvam nihitam guhayam. That the real truth, the tattva of Dharma, nihitam guhayam, is very confidential, and it is hidden in the hearts of the great self-realized persons. Therefore, mahajana yena gatasa panta. What should follow in the footsteps of those great mahajanas, who are all mentioned here in today's verse. Well, four of whom are mentioned in today's verse. But anyone in his right mind is going to have to quote that verse, given this verse in purport. It would be a neglect not to. I'm going to read a little bit of this purport, which is really nice. So the Vishnu Dutas, they challenged the Yamadutas to describe the principles of religion. The Yamaduta said, Veda pranihito dharma. The religious principles are enacted in the Vedic literature. They did not know, however, that the Vedic literature contains ritualistic ceremonies that are not transcendental. What does Krishna say in Bhagavad Gita about that? Traigunya vishaya veda, nistraigunya bhavarjuna, yadwanda nitya sattvastona, yogakshema atmavan. That rise above the modes of nature, which are naistragunya, become transcendental, these modes, bhavarjuna. They are meant to keep peace and order amongst materialistic persons in the material world. Real religious principles are nistragunya, above the three Vedas, or above the three modes of material nature, and in transcendental. The Yamadutas did not know these transcendental religious principles, and therefore, when prevented from arresting Ajamil, they were surprised. They were not digging it, because no one had ever stopped them, and they assumed they were fully empowered. Materialistic persons who attach all their faith to the Vedic rituals are described in Bhagavad Gita 2:42, where Krishna says, Veda Vadarata Partha Nanyat Ashtiti Bhavinaha. The supposed followers of Vedas say that there is nothing beyond the Vedic ceremonies. Indeed, there is a group of men in India who are very fond of Vedic rituals, not understanding the meaning of these rituals, which are intended to elevate one gradually to the transcendental platform of knowing Krishna. Vedaishta savarahame vidya. Those who do not know this principle, but who simply attach their faith to the Vedic rituals, are called Veda Bhava Rataha. Herein it is stated that the real religious principle is that which is given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Who knows what verse Prabhupada is fixing to quote here? The real religious principle given by Krishna. That's the verse we're talking about. Sarva dharman parityaja. Mam ekam sharanam vraja. You think you know religious principles? Parityaja. Sarva dharman parityaja. Give up your attachment to rituals and this truth and that truth. And the real truth is just Mam ekam sharanam vraja. Wow. And this is real Vedic knowledge. And this is the real understanding. This is the real religious principle that's given by Lord Krishna in the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita. As we said earlier, in no uncertain terms, this is the real religion. Just surrender to Krishna, and then he will protect you from all the bad stuff that you did before and all the bad stuff that's going to come to you because of all the bad stuff you did before. There was a guy here yesterday, he came to the restaurant, and he was trying to get some free food from the restaurant. I felt sorry for him on one level. And then he was at the counter trying to wheedle some free prasadam out of Shanta, but she wasn't having any of it. And then he came outside, he said, "Do you work here?" I said, "What do you need there, friend?" He said, "I don't have any money, and I want something to eat." I said, "Well, you know, it's a restaurant. The way it works is you pay the money and you get something to eat." And he goes, "Yeah, but I thought like karma." I said, "Karma means work. So because you didn't do any karma, you didn't work, you don't have any money. And that's your karma. And because you don't have any money, you can't buy anything to eat. That's karma. That's what real karma is." He thought karma meant, if I just come here, you guys will give me food, which actually we should, but a little hard to do that in front of the restaurant customers. "I'm paying for my dinner. How come that bum is..." And then there was a gentleman, a customer out on this is outside the patio, it was a customer at one of the tables, and he was very amused by the whole thing. He was very amused. He said, "Yeah, you got to pay. You want to play, you got to pay, man. That's the rules, you know." But he did, I give him a nut pack, you know. "I want a free big plate of everything. Here's a little bag with some peanuts." Oops, sorry. That's the nature of having the restaurant. Really, we should have prasadam, but if every bum that came up and wanted prasadam, you know, we wouldn't have anything for the customers. That's the life in the neighborhood. That's life in the hood on the street around here. So we'll stop here, ask for any questions, comments, realizations, criticisms, acquiescence, confirmations, anything. Yes.
So Lord Yamaraj, he's also on the...
Yeah, Bali, Vyasakir, Vyam. Vyam means we. So he's speaking, and he lists 11 names, and then he says Vyam, and himself.
Himself.
So yes,
Yeah.
yes, Jamaraj is an important Mahajan, as evinced by his instructions, which are, after all, given in Bhagavatam. That's Bhagavat. Instructions of Yamaraj to the Yamadutas. Yes. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
So, as you said in the class, Dhirodatta Prabhu was outgunned here. He had Lord Brahma had come and joined the side of Swayambhuva Manu, and
Narada, his guru, and Lord Shiva, one of the primary persons in the universe.
So it was inevitable that he was going to need to accept the order. But I appreciate that Lord Brahma, he doesn't just give the order, he also spends some time explaining like the principles behind the order and gives him the understanding by which he could maybe develop his own desire to accept the order. So I appreciate that it wasn't just left up to the order. He could have just kind of done that, and Priyavrata could have gone along begrudgingly, but he was given the opportunity to kind of develop his own conviction around it and understand why this order was coming. So that's just one thing I appreciated from Lord Brahma's approach.
Yeah, that's true. He's giving him the understanding. He said, I'm Lord Brahma. I have to follow the orders of the Lord. And then you look around you. Swayambhuva Manu, Narada Muni, your guru, Lord Shiva. I mean, what's a fellow to do? He can't refuse, but he's given the explanation that not only you, but us, all of us, none of us can disobey the orders of the Lord. And that Prabhupada makes the point further in the purport. But no one, I, Lord Brahma, I have to follow the orders of the Lord. And this is the order coming from the Lord. He's brought me here to help convince you. And I have to follow, and you have to follow, and we all have to follow. Just like the regular principles. Prabhupada follows regular principles. We follow the regular principles. We all have to. There are no special exemptions given out just because one is, Laguru Kutli or something like that. But of course, there are many people that follow the 3 regular principles. No meat, no fish, no eggs. Yes, I follow 3 out of 4 ain't bad, right? So it is required, it is the order of the spiritual master, it is the order of the Lord. So then you may not be your inclination, or you may have some excuse. Please excuse me. I cannot wake up in the morning because I like to stay up late at night reading comic books, or that would have been when I was a kid. But now it's, YouTube videos or whatever it is, the video games. There was one couple living in the temple, and the man just could not get up in the morning because he liked to stay up late at night. But the fact that you don't want to do it or you don't like it doesn't make you exempt from the necessity of following the order. So we all have to follow the orders. Everyone. And if we do, then we can make some nice progress. And if we don't, yasya prasadam nagati kutopi. That means that one who doesn't get the mercy of the yasya prasadam, without that mercy, nagati. Gati means a destination. Nagati kutopi, your destination is unknown. You don't get to go back to Godhead by not following. Oh, shucks. I thought there was like a way you could just kind of scrape by and then get a special loophole. But no, you have to follow the science. It is science. You have to follow the procedures, the scientific procedures of the proposed activity, and then you get the result. But if you concoct your own procedures and theories, then nagati kotopi, you don't get the result. That is the meaning of science. So in that sense, then we're all scientists. Not like the Christian scientists, but the Krishna scientists, following the Krishna science. Ye Krishna tattva veta, say Guru hoy. Regardless of one's material position, regardless of one's karma, regardless of one's birth, regardless of one's particular circumstances. Ye Krishna tattva veta. If one knows the science of Krishna, then say Guru hoy, he can become a spiritual master. And he can go back home, back to Godhead. All right, anyone else? All right, thank you all very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.